Hello guys, it's been a while. There's been an expansion, I never even made a video since then, so I guess it's about time to come back and present you my Necromancer build. If you love the max DPS of all your conditions, you're really going to enjoy this build, so hold on tight and check it out. Okay, I'm not really here to bore you or anything, so let's jump straight into stats, gear and traits. First off, having a look at our power, that's over 2k. Which is pretty awesome for a condition build. We'll be placing a lot of direct damage. Our health pool is also pretty high. Necromancer has always had a high health pool, so that's no worry of ours. And our critical strike chance will be most likely boosted to 100% thanks to our traits and some team buffs. That's no problem, we'll be striking almost 100% of the time. Now taking a look at our condition damage, almost 2k, and our condition duration, which is 86. I know, if you're anyway familiar with Necro and Reaper, you know we have 20% bleeding and chill duration, so we have 6% overkill. But don't worry, in my opinion this is still worth it. Just looking at bleeding and chill is not that important. You will still place a lot of other conditions on your enemies. So also placing longer torment, longer CCs, longer weakness and anything else is still worth it in my opinion. So having a little overkill is still worth it. Just do it. Our gears of course Vipers. Vipers with a mix of 4 superior runes of Nightmare and 2 superior runes of the Trapper for the longest condition duration. Our 2 weapons are also Viper stats with a superior sigil of Malice for 10 condition duration and a superior sigil of Bursting for another 6% condition damage. The Trinkets are also... well, the Trinkets are actually the sinister versions with a back piece which is exotic. Yes, exotic, but in my opinion this exotic back piece is actually better than the Ascended Rampager version. We have more condition damage and even some expertise, which is really awesome in my opinion. Okay, let's have a look at our build with our specializations. First up is Curses, because what did you expect? We have Bar Precision for bonus bleeding, Plague Signet, because we will be taking a lot of conditions and it's so beneficial for us to be sending them out again. Then Furious Demise, you can flash Death Shroud if you like for the Fury, or use some of the skills in Death Shroud, but let's talk about it later. Then Master of Corruption for the cooldown on our Blood is Power and our Epidemic. Then Targeting the Weak, some bonus critical strike chance, and one of the most important traits is Lingering Curse. Our Scepter is our main weapon, which we'll be using 100% of the time, so this bonus condition increase is really awesome. It also works in Death Shroud, by the way. Then next up let's have a look at Reaper. Well, first trait is Chilling Nova. Chilling Nova will be chilling all adjuncted foes when you crit on a chill foe, which is awesome for AoE chilling. Then Shivering Dread. Fear will also put a chill on the enemies. Decimate Defenses, which will be boosting our critical strike chance 50% most of the time in team fights. Then Cold Shoulder, chill lasts longer and chilled foes deal less damage to you. And lastly, Deadly Chill, which will be most of the time be ticking for 1k damage on our enemies. Then next up is Blood Magic. Blood Magic will most likely be used for team support. First we have Mark of Blood for AoE, health regen and bleeding. Then next up is Lesser Signet of Vampirism. This is also team support, or you could take Quickening Thirst for movement speed and reduced cooldown on your dagger skills. Then Vampiric, that's actually Lifesteal, pretty decent, but of course the better trait is Vampiric Presence, that's Lifesteal for your entire team. Then Lost Rites, no more downed enemies that will be bleeding out, it's pretty awesome. And then some more support, Transfusion. when you're going for melee, just jump in and spin around, heal up your team. This is a really strong team support setup. But we have another choice. If we do not like blood magic and we like some more bleeding, we would take that magic. Yes, that magic. We will be spamming minions. Really spamming them like crazy. Flash of the Master gives us increased toughness. Soul Comprehension. Your passive life force generates from enemies increased. Probably not using Deadly Shroud that often, so that's not important. Necromantic Corruption. This is something pretty important actually. Minions deal more damage, they take conditions from you, and they will be transferring conditions to the enemy. So when we have a lot of minions, we have a whole minion army, we can just use this trait to send all our conditions away thanks to our minions. Then Beyond the Veil, protection for our minions and ourselves. And Poisoning Clouds. Every enemy we kill will be spawning a minion which deals bleeding and gives a poison field when it dies. This build is pretty crazy. Next we should take a look at the build diversity and some common misconceptions people might have. Looking at the gear, the Viper gear is just way better than the old Sinister set. I know there's been some debates, but recent damage calculations clearly show that Viper's is way better. So just go for the new set. This was my older Sinister set, which I used for my own might duration, together with a Signet Spite build. The food will be Toxic Focusing Crystals and Koi Cakes. I know, they are both pretty expensive, and you probably don't want to be running around with these two all the time. They're really needed if you're doing harder content like raids, but in open world there is another possibility for you. If you want to be at your max DPS without food, you will be using Giver Weapons. Giver Weapons sacrifice a little bit of power damage and condition damage for 20% condition duration. So both of these weapons are pretty useful for open world content without losing money on food. Your other main weapon will be Staff. Staff isn't the best condition damage weapon, it's more used as a utility based or team support weapon. So keep that in mind. If you want to be at your max DPS, you will be staying on Scepter Dagger. Then your utilities will be Consume Conditions, obviously. Epidemic, possibly the best spell in the game, so be sure to use this one. Then Blood as Power, and You're All Weaklings. You could switch out this spell. There are other spells that are useful in some situations, but I like the Stun Break and some extra might generation and weakness to the opponent. Then as an ult, you will be using Chill to the Bone, or possibly use Skill 4 on Lich Farm to spam some minions if you're using the minion build. Now, having a quick look at the damage rotation, you will start the fight with Blood as Power for instant buffing, and you will be putting some condition on yourself, so you instantly transfer them to the enemy with Deadly Swarm, then use your other Scepter skills, Enfeebling Blood, Grasping Death, and finish it off with Feast of Corruption, and then spreading all conditions around with Epidemic. Optionally, you could use You're All Weaklings if you do not need a Stun Break, and Chill to the Bone. If you're going into melee damage to tank some damage or help your team out, you can Dodge Roll for a mark on the ground, use Reaper Shroud and Executioner Scythe, followed by Soul Spiral and a Terrify, and then go back to Scepter Dagger and keep attacking with Scepter 1 and redo the entire rotation. Okay, let's try it out and show you what I'm capable of. Okay, like you see, this damage potential is pretty high. And remember, getting buffed by your team with might and other procs just makes this build so much stronger. And those are the basics you'll need to get started with the build. In time you will learn how to pick up the build's full potential, transferring your conditions correctly either by minions, traits, dagger or even your staff. And please, do not screw up your team by using transfusion wrong. Doing it on downed allies and throwing them in bosses AoE is probably not the smartest idea. Learn to predict your encounters so you know when to go for blood magic and when that magic becomes incredibly beneficial. I guess it's up to you guys now to try it out and see if you like it. Possibly even compare it to other condition builds. I don't know, just tell me in the comments how much this build sucks if you want to. I'm going to farm entire year to get the ascended version of my set. And this was a short Necro Condi Reaper guide. I hope you enjoyed it, and please show some scrubs Necro deserves a place in PvE. Have fun with whatever you're going to do, and possibly see you in my next video. Maybe next year or something.